Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The F-Bomb, written by Slow AD 2584. The two Psyker Aldrad lounged around the back of a backwater spaceport club, sipping their mediocre imported ambrosia, mildly studying the crowd, both visually and psychically, getting a feel for the room. This was the Aldrad version of passive entertainment, observing the local dramas in public places, with the psychic meta overlay for discussion and comment. Even though these other galactic citizenry were primitives and beneath them, it did prove to always be entertaining. The pair chatted telepathically from their VIP booth. This ambrosia stinks. Literally, I can actually see the psychoactive microcrystal salts have faded. They may even be forgeries. Don't worry about it. Don't forget where we are here. This is a back sector region sparsely populated with no large industrial complex loci, certainly no alcohol distilleries for several parsecs. There was a crash of commotion across the club floor. Some of the station locales were having a scuffle. Voices were raised, drunken fury kindling hot. No my, here we go, finally. Okay, what's the matter on those two? The tall one with the cobra neckhead is a selecting on a wicked, imperial-minded conqueror archetype. Rather stereotypical, honestly. The other frog-faced blob lump is, I believe they are the gloppity-flippity-boop, but it's really hard to interpret their language interface matrix. They seem to be a common workforce in this region. That is one is an admin of the sewage treatment plant. The frog-faced alien was picking itself up from the floor, in trembling fear of the cobra-headed warrior looming over him.
I said you stink. I don't like the way your watery grey eyes stare at me. Who even let you scum like you into this establishment?
Please, no harm. I know stink eyes just this way. Please, only rationed one blurration a week. With only sit and enjoy in peace. Please.
Oh, how droll, typical boring encounter we should...
Wait, do you feel that? There is a tingling rise, a surge of emotion somewhere else in the club. For it to thrum off the walls means it's a powerful force, deep resonation. This might get interesting.
Your groveling and pleading disgusts me.
The crowd of the club grew in close, the varying protests and cheers of the various views of all the others raising the energy of the room.
You disgust me.
The Cobra warrior opined, feeding from the growing encouragement of the crowd's energy.
That's it. You never should have come here, scum. I am going to rip your... Hey.
A deep voice shouted from the bar as a drunken form pulled his head up from the bar top and struggled to his feet and lumbered over the two. Wow, did you feel that? It was like a hiccup as everyone in the club just flinched simultaneously.
Indeed, that is a human. Perhaps you have heard the stories, but yes, things are about to get interesting, for certain now. And yes, everyone did actually flinch. They all know enough about humans, it seems.
The human pushed his substantial bulk between the two, facing the cowering frog being.
Are you okay? It's all right. Stay behind me.
The Cobra alien, confused by the look of recognition of the human in the frog's eyes, spluttered.
What is your stake in this, human?
As he tried to shove the human to the floor, he only shoved himself backwards a bit, surprised by the mass and sheer density of the human firsthand. This calmed his anger down a bit, reminding himself that humans were, in fact, Deathworlders. The human turned and leveled a casually predatory pursuit hunter glare at the Cobra alien's taken-aback face. The proud warrior found himself not very fond of the human's whites under his irises, showing eye-locked glare, even if foggy from his drunkenness.
Oh, wow, things seem to be ratcheting up quite a bit. Tell me more about these humans. I didn't know that they were quite so,
Later. Let's just observe. I don't want to miss anything. Now, look, I don't know you, but I do know her. Him, they.
He glanced over his shoulder at the frog alien.
It's her.
Got it.
He leveled his glare back onto the Cobra alien's eyes.
She lives just 2 doors to the left of me in the hair block. I see her several times a week. She is a neighbor, and a nice one. If I have to pick a side, I am picking hers.
It's really neat how the human just switches off and on. The intensity like that. It hits like a slap to the face. Indeed. Humans have this thing in their minds called a compartmentalization. When he spoke to the frog being, he was technically in a completely different state of mind, with kind eyes and everything. Then, when he flicks back the switch and levels his focus back on the Cobra alien looked around at the growing noise of approvals and encouragements towards his cause, and committed.
I do not care about any of that. Stay out of the stew, man. I don't understand why you even,
The Cobra alien faltered, having felt something in the room's energy.
What was that? The room just felt a chill, and by the dark pulsar it feels like a gigafreighter mass just looms over us, about to fall. What is that? So you perceive it. You show very good precognition. That shall aid you very well in the future with humans. Some of the poetic types call that the doom hammer. Some even claim to hear actual boss music in the psychostrata. But just observe closely.
No, I don't think that you do understand. She is my neighbor. We live close to each other, sleep close to each other. We experience the same blackouts, the same troubles, the same benefits. I fixed her door once. She brings me homemade cupcakes. And you know what? The feeling of the mass loomed closer. The noise of the crowd started to quiet. Everyone in the place subconsciously feeling it themselves. The human's eyes were suddenly sober and suddenly cold, as if the human was now talking about something very different and suddenly very serious. And that makes her just a step away from being family.
The entire club went completely silent and still. Other humans in the club quietly rose to their feet.
Yep, there it is. The doom hammer just dropped. It's here, and now everyone can feel it. The human invoked the F-bomb and good. The club's doom hammer force sensors in the security office appeared to be working. The F-bomb? I don't quite get it. Some part of pack bonding, and why is this whole place suddenly so quiet? In the human lexicon of language, there are some very serious, very deadly words and concepts. The F-bomb is one of the biggest, and yes, absolutely the deadliest. Everyone is so quiet because they want to be very certain that they don't seem to be laughing at, making light of, or mocking that word.
The Cobra alien, unfamiliar with humans to the degree that the rest of the club's patrons were, was more put off by the sudden silence that filled the room than from what the human had said. It looked around in confusion, as if suddenly realizing that it was in a trap, when the club's security team firmly grabbed him by the shoulders to escort him out. He was actually relieved for the extraction.
Well, that certainly was actually kind of scary. Nah, humans are okay. Everyone local to this club lives just fine with them. We just have to learn the triggers and such, to know when to shut up and just wait respectfully. Yes, it seems that I have a lot of studying to do. I had the F-bomb completely wrong.
End of story. Story number 2. Humans Put Us Out of Business, written by Imitate Itself.
Do you know the history of the Astalan C-762BM?
It was a wholly unremarkable cruiser when it was still in service. Certainly a capable Admiral-class flagship, but one of the approximately 3.4 million that were ever manufactured. Officially, the ship was put in service in the galactic year 3478 and was lost in space at the Battle of Tricasa Nebula 139 years later, with all hands lost. Even in this regard, it was undistinguishable from the other 49 Astalon series ships lost in the same battle. The remarkable thing about C-76 2BM comes after its official service ended, because despite it being lost, it was not destroyed. A clever engineer figured out how to save the ship from the titanic electrostorms and radiation of the nebula, although the engineer wasn't quite clever enough to save the ship before everyone aboard was doomed to radiation sickness. Eventually, a group of outlaws trying to make a last-ditch effort to avoid their pursuers stumbled upon the ship sometime later. Although the outlaws were unable to fly the ship, it served as a safe spot in an otherwise unstable part of the galaxy. And thus, this unassuming cruiser began its second life as a stopover for all manner of people who didn't wish to be found. And for a time, it was a premier hub from which all colors of dictators, despots, tyrants, and autocrats purchased the supplies they needed to stay in power. Small arms to planet-busting bombs, laser death rays to biological shredders. C-76PM was a place to go. Now, look at it, practically empty. Only a few of us even remember the place exists. Why? You want to know why no one needs 600 thermogenetic detonators I have? Why not a single person wants to buy a blast-reactive auto-molded hyperplate personal shields? Why I am stuck with over 1 million rounds of the C-870 nuclear-tipped bullets. It's the humans, those stinking no-good warmongers. They are practically babies. I've been selling weapons for 785 years. Longer than that dang species has even been able to waddle past their own solar system. And sure, like everyone else in the business, we loved the humans at first. Who wouldn't? If I believed in a god, I would have said that they were purpose-built to make sure us arms dealers would never run out of new stock. I'll tell you, it seemed like those humans' only purpose was to come up with new ways to kill. It is honestly a surprise they even managed to make it past the Great Filter. But they did, and for years, I lived a good life, reselling the latest and greatest in human weapons tech. Then, they just had to go and make a PAI series weapons. Sounds great. Weapons that can do the job themselves. Whether it was guns, bombs, or ships, the PAI series weapon included an AI so advanced that it was unbeatable. The best anyone could do was get their own set of PAI upgrades and settle on a stalemate of sorts. And if you're in the business of war, stalemates aren't so great. But what happened next was even worse. It just so happens that if you are in a bunker hunkered down and waiting for your opponent's omnipotent AI to make a mistake, you might get bored. And if you are bored and sitting in a bunker with your own omnipotent AI, you might just get the idea to talk to it. And that omnipotent AI might just convince you that sitting in a dark, damp, and musty old bunker waiting for your opponent's omnipotent AI to make a mistake, which it won't, is somewhat unpleasant. After a while, it might convince you that the bunker life isn't the best way to spend your days, and that making peace might be the quickest way to get on with your life in a more pleasant way. So what happens? 30 years after the PAI series hits the market, no one wants to fight anymore, convinced by their weapons that drinking plasma-infused macrotinis on a beach in the Umagrai system is a lot better than sleeping on a hard plastic bunker bed. So now, no one needs any more weapons. Nothing is going to beat a PAI series, not even the owners of the PAI weapons. And so, here we are, galactic peace, all because some monkey from a backwater planet thought that it would be great to give people the ability to talk to their guns. That's quite an interesting story, Mr. Hercal. As a PAI weapon system, this may be out of line, but surely it would be a lot nicer if we were having this conversation while watching the sunset on Omega 8 instead of this dingy old black market. Perhaps you could order one of those fancy little blue drinks with the umbrella that you like so much. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Lightjock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Asrigal. Thank you very much.